In today's landing page from scratch video, I'm going to show you how you can create a conversion boosting pricing page. Hi, I'm Stephanie from Thrive Themes, and in today's video, I'm going to show you how you can create the pricing page out of our latest set of landing page templates. Now, with this pricing page, you can redirect visitors to a certain section just by the click of a button. It's got an eye-popping pricing table, and it has got all of the conversion boosting elements that you want on a pricing page. Now let's take a look at the full landing page set so you can see where this fits into the whole equation. Now we've created a hypothetical online course under the guise of Click Journalist. So this is the original sales page. We've got the heading up the top and the call to action, a little bit about the course, a countdown timer, testimonials, a bit more about the course as well as a video, money back guarantee, and again the countdown timer. Now this button here, you'll link to the second page in this funnel, which will be the pricing page, which is what we're going to create today. And another thing that we've added to this page is an exit intent lightbox. So if someone has come to your sales page and isn't quite ready to buy, you still have a chance of capturing their details by offering a free giveaway. That way you can nurture the lead for a little bit longer and hopefully eventually they'll come back to the sales page and actually buy. So let's take a look at the pricing page now, which is where they'll go if they do show interest on the original sales page. So we've got a multiple pricing box, countdown timer, testimonials, money back guarantee, and again a button that leads you back up to the pricing table. So if your visitor has scrolled all the way down the page and is still interested, this is a nice simple way of getting them back up to where they need to be in order to make the purchase. All you need to do is link your payment processor to the add to cart button. And then once they have purchased your course, we have the thank you page, which gives them details of how they can redeem or begin the course. So now you know how the whole funnel looks, let's get started on building the pricing page. So navigate to your WordPress dashboard and create a new page and edit with Thrive Architect. Now normally if you were creating a landing page set like this, you would create one full page and then duplicate that page to create the next page in the set. That just saves you from having to do all of the initial formatting that you have to do when starting a brand new landing page. But since I'm showing you from scratch, we'll start right from the beginning. So what I'm going to do is change the landing page to a blank template. We want to make it full width. And we want to make sure that the background color is white. So we'll just remove this image here, and it's already set as white for the background color. Now what I'm going to do is just set up all of the text formatting to be the styles that I want it for this page set. Now that all my text is set correctly, I'm going to create a background section that I can duplicate throughout the page. And what I'm going to do is put the correct settings in this one background section and then duplicate it a few times so it's ready to go for each of the new sections that I create on the page. So I want the content width to go to 1080, even though the entire landing page is full width. I'm going to set all of this spacing to 0, and what this does is take out any of the automatic theme spacing. So with your theme, you'll have automatic settings as to what the spacing should be for your paragraphs, your H1 headings, your H2 headings. So if you're doing a landing page and you don't want any of that to interrupt with the design, you can actually just put 0 in all of these and it won't pull in any of the automatic theme settings. And the last step here is just to put a 20 pixel padding. Now that we've got those base settings down, we're ready to get started. I'll duplicate this background section to create the top header. So we'll just add the Click Journalist logo up the top there. Center align it and make it a little bit smaller. Now we're going to duplicate this background section again to create the full width image background that you see here. So to do this, you just need to go down to background style, add an image, and apply. Now you'll see I'll just drag a heading in here and stretch this out so you can actually see this properly. Now you'll see that this is a lot lighter than the page that we've got here, and how we've done this is actually just by adding a second layer of black and turning the opacity down. So this just makes it a lot easier to read any text that you do have on top of that background section. So you just need to go back down to background section, add a solid color. We'll go black and we'll put it down to about 50%. That looks good. Now to create our eye-popping pricing table, I'm actually going to use a mixture of columns and content boxes. So we'll start off by adding the 2 columns here. And then I will add a content box inside one of those columns and change the background to that nice deep blue. Now this is a lot wider than we want, so all we have to do is go up to content box options and change the maximum width. We'll go about 340, and to create that white section on the bottom of the pricing table, that's actually a separate content box. So we'll insert this second content box, take out any of the margins and padding so it sits flush with this first content box, making it look like the box is just changing color. And we'll change the background color of the second content box to white. And now it's time to start adding some of the text elements inside of the content box. Now you'll notice whenever I'm editing text in the sidebar, I make sure that I have not highlighted any of the text. Now this is because if you highlight the text, the changes that you make are actually inline changes, which means that when you move to mobile and tablet view, you won't be able to edit that text just for mobile and just for tablet. If you make inline edits, that change stays throughout the screen size. But if you make the edits to the text from this sidebar, when you switch screens, you can make the font size smaller, change the color, anything like that, and the changes will only affect the smaller screen size. So I'm going to make one inline edit here, and that's just make this dollar symbol a little bit smaller and change the color. Now we're just going to add a few dividers in here to get this nice effect that we have. We'll put the opacity way down to about 15% and make it white. Change it to about 2 pixels and duplicate that for the second one. Now we'll add a styled list element and make those icons that nice orange that we've got throughout the page. And in order to make it a bit more centered to match up with the rest of the box, I'm just going to add little bit of padding here. Now just remember that you've done this for the small screen sizes, because if you've got 68 pixels of padding to the side here, once you do switch to a smaller screen size, it is going to be pushed over quite a lot. And I'll show you that now. If you take a look on mobile, it's actually alright. But in most cases, when you do add that much padding to the side of an element, you'll probably want to go in mobile view and just fix that up, just for when they are on mobile only. And any changes that you make to the padding in mobile view won't affect your desktop view. Now the final step is to add a button down the bottom. Make that nice and big, and don't forget, whenever you do add a button, to change the hover color as well. Now an easy way to get a nicely matching hover color is just to reduce the opacity a little bit of the hover color for your button, and that way it'll just be a little bit lighter when the visitor puts their mouse over the button. I might make that a tiny bit lighter actually. There we go, so that's just at 80% opacity. Now in order to link this button to your payment processing system, you'd want to put the link in here. I'll add more details on that below the video. Okay, now that we've got it looking the way we want with the spacing, I'm going to add a shadow to this box, and you'll see why this is important once I duplicate it and put the two together. So to add a drop shadow, you just need to go down to the shadow drop down, click on the drop shadow, and we want this one to be really subtle, so we'll go 10% opacity, and we might keep it at the 8 and the 12. Now you can't really see it now while it's on this background, but as soon as I duplicate this, add it to the other column and align them together, you see there's still a little bit of a gap here, and that's because the columns come with a gutter width, so we'll just remove that. And then we'll make sure that this content box sits on top of this one here. So you can do that by changing the Z index and just making sure whichever has the highest Z index will sit on top of the other element on the page. So we'll make this one 6. And now you'll be able to see that drop shadow because this element is over the top of this element. So for starters, I want to make this content box a little bit wider. And we also want to make it longer, but to make this one longer, we're just going to duplicate some text and put an extra sentence in here. Now you see that the text is all the way to the side of this element and it looks very untidy. This is because we couldn't put the usual paddings within this element because otherwise it would have shown on this bottom content box. So we're actually going to apply the padding to the text element itself, which I wouldn't recommend usually doing, but if you're in a situation like this, it's the best way to get around it. So we'll just add 20 pixels each side. Now to create this zoomed out effect, we want this content box to be in the center vertically to this content box. So to do that, we need to go back to the columns and change the vertical position to be centered. And now it gives that really eye-popping bursting out effect. So I won't bother changing the text on here, you get the idea. We'll move on to the rest of the sections in the page. So again, we'll duplicate our master section and drag it up. Now the next element we have is the countdown timer. This is a great element to have on the page to create scarcity. So especially on your pricing page, it's great to have elements like this to make the need to purchase feel more immediate. Because if you go to a sales page and you could go back and purchase that product whenever, you'll most likely do that. But if there's a countdown timer telling you you've only got a little bit of time to get this offer, it's a great way to really push for that sales conversion. I've got the heading text in here, and all we need to do is drag in a countdown timer element. Now we want the circles, so we can just change the style up the top here. This one's set to simple at the moment. And we want the color to be a nice light grey. Now you can actually edit the text down the bottom here, so if you did want the countdown timer in another language, you can actually change what these text inputs say. And you can change the color of the text as well. We'll just give them one more chance to buy. And we'll just add a call to action button below the timer. And for this one, we've already got the two pricing options here, which will have links to your payment processor. So by clicking this button here, we don't really have anywhere to send them. Now, a really great feature of Thrive Architect is you can add ID tags, which will redirect your visitor within a single page. So you can select any element on your page. I'll choose this whole content box here. Go down to Styles and Templates and add in an ID. So I'm going to call this one Table. Make sure you call it something reasonable because the visitor will see this in the URL up the top. And then when you come back down to your button, you'll see this hashtag here. And all you have to do is add that title of whatever you named this first section. Save it, and I'll show you how this works. Now, if the visitor scrolls down and clicks this button, automatically be pulled back up to the pricing table. And just something to note, it will pull right up to the very top of that element. So be wary of this when you are choosing what you're going to use as your anchor. So I might actually make this top title here the anchor so that when it pulls back up, the visitor gets a view of this whole page section. You can even make the page section the anchor too. I'm going to add table as the ID for this page section. The next section we want to add here is testimonials for social proof. So again, we'll duplicate our background section. Add a nice grey as the background color. Now, if you have Thrive Ovation, at this point you could just drag in a display testimonials element. But we're going to build them from scratch just in case you don't have Thrive Ovation. So we'll start by putting 2 columns in there. Adding content boxes for the speech bubbles. And we'll add some dummy text in there for the testimonial. Again, we'll add that padding to the inside of this content box just so the text doesn't hit all of the sides. And to add the little triangle to make it look like it is actually a speech bubble, all we have to do is add in an icon. Look for a nice down arrow. Make it white. And then reposition it. And there you have the speech bubble effect. Might make it a little bit bigger. And we'll take this margin away as well. Now we can add in the images of the people giving the testimonials. So to put the faces in circles, this is just an image style. So you just need to go into image style, change, and select circle. We'll make him a little bit smaller. Oops, and I've just put him inside that content box there, so I'll just make sure he's outside. Move this over a little bit more just so it looks like he is the one speaking. And to get this image next to this text, we just need to drag in another column element. Put the picture in one side and the text in the other. And again, we want to change that vertical position so that they are nice and even. Now the columns added a little bit of extra spacing there, so I'm just going to take that away. And I want to make the actual speech bubble a little bit smaller, so I'm going to make this gutter width about 43. I might add a little bit of margin to the side here, just so this image is a little bit further in, and then change this to reflect that too. And there we go. There's our homemade testimonial element. So I'll just duplicate that into the column on the right. Now you'll see that this content box is a little bit bigger than this one, and it looks fine, but if you want them to be even, all you have to do is set a max content height for this one. So we'll say about 200. And then you can just set the same max content height to this one here. See, now that we've got a maximum content height, we can't do the negative margins on this one, so I'm just going to drag it right below. And do a negative margin the other way. Now we've got the money back guarantee, which is a great risk reversal technique for a pricing page. So this is another one of those elements that will help someone click the buy button, because they know that if the product isn't right for them, they can always get it refunded. Most of the time they won't, but it's just that confidence and comfort factor when they're actually going through with the purchase. So this one is just some text, so I'll just build this one really quickly. To make these little lines, you just need to get a divider element and reduce the max width to what you want it, and then center it. And we've got the last call to action at the very bottom of the page. So if they've kept reading all the way down to here, we've given them a nice easy way to be redirected to the pricing page. So we just need to make that button again with the link back up to the pricing table section. And since we've already got this button all nicely formatted with the correct link, we'll just copy that and pop it in this section below. And we've got one last section down the bottom, which will just be the disclaimer and privacy policy, and then we're done. So there we have our eye-popping pricing page with various elements that will push your visitor to take that final step towards purchasing your product. You can check out the full landing page set below this video and for details on how to link up each of these pages to each other. I hope you enjoyed this landing page from scratch tutorial, and if you have any comments or questions, let us know in the comments below.